It's no secret that there's a lot of amazing tires out there. It's also no secret that not all tires are created equal. The tires that we have here have just driven 41,000 kilometers from the USA to the bottom of Argentina. Now, I think there's two important things to consider when you're buying a tire: the facts and the stories. I can say without much doubt that we're the first people to take these Falken RT01s across 17 countries. Sand dunes and rocks in Mexico, clay mud in Belize, volcanic rock in Guatemala, river crossings in Costa Rica, volcanic mud in El Salvador and Colombia, snow at 4,500 meters in Ecuador, more sand in Peru, across the Amazon basin in Pantanal in Brazil, 4,000 meter sand dunes in Argentina, and what's more impressive than any of that is the thousands and thousands of kilometers of rough, washboard, unmaintained corrugated roads, and the tens of thousands of kilometers of long, hot, cold, windy, rainy, tarmac highways in Latin America. Facts are obviously important: the size, the rating of the tire, but so are the real-world experiences of its users. Quick facts on this guy: it's a 35 12.5 R17 Falken Wild Peak RT 01 HD. Now that's a mouthful. This is a new tire for Falken as of September 2022, and it's a beast. The story is these tires have literally driven more than halfway across the world through every type of terrain: deep mud, deep sand, and thousands and thousands and thousands of corrugated washboard gravel road. Literally torture tested. And I'm proud to say, no punctures. 0 punctures. But that doesn't mean that it didn't take some abuse. What's pretty cool is over a year and a half and 40,000+ kilometers, these tires are not quite yet at their 50% tread block, which means the lifespan on these things is pretty impressive. The performance in varied terrain, well, it's also pretty impressive. When I mean torture tested, this is what I mean. Let me give you an example of a day driving in Latin America, say Colombia or Peru. We start at sea level. It's hot. It's like 30 degrees Celsius. We're on pavement. The pavement's hot. We're aired up at highway pressure, which for us is between 30 and 40 psi. Then we drive up to the mountains, which is between 3,000 and 4,000 meters of elevation, and get onto the dirt. So this tire has gone through this intense altitude change, an intense temperature change, and in the mountains we'll drop the PSI. So we'll drop the PSI down to around 20, and then bomb gravel roads. I'm serious, like, we're not easy on these tires. They're thick-walled, they're tough as nails, and we would just rally. The truck would shake and rattle, but the tires would just eat it up. And it's a lot of stress on the tire, airing up, airing down, changing the temperature, changing the altitude, and this was like a frequent occurrence. It should come as no surprise that the Chinook is heavy. It's just over 6,000 pounds. So we chose a load range E for this truck, and that means that it is a higher load rating, it's a heavier tire, and a much thicker sidewall. More structural integrity, and just tougher. After about 30,000 kilometers, the tire finally started to show some wear. You can see we've got little nicks, the edges aren't quite as sharp anymore, and there's little cracks where it's been flexing, but that's really to be expected. When I say torture tested, I'm really not kidding. When we would travel thousands of miles, kilometers, whatever, on washboard roads, like rough roads. So I'm pretty impressed. Like, this is obviously to be expected. This looks like a well-used tire now, but there's still tons of life left in here. This bad boy is also rated for mud and snow, which was a huge lifesaver for us when we were down in Ushuaia and you needed a mud and snow rated tire to pass the checkpoints. The Falken RT01. An RT tire is a hybrid between an all-terrain and a mud terrain. So for serious overlanders like us, this is really the sweet spot because you get the highway manners and the snow performance, the winter performance of a dedicated all-terrain, but you also have these chunkier lugs, these bigger gaps in the lugs of a mud terrain. In my mind, the RT is about as perfect as it gets when you're doing long highway miles and then you want to hit some hard tracks. There'll always be a compromise somewhere when it's not dedicated to one specific thing. But as far as ticking all the boxes right across the board, I'm very impressed. Road noise. When we first put these tires on, to me they were as quiet as an all-terrain. 40,000 kilometers later, the road noise has increased, but it's nowhere near the volume of the mud terrains that I run on the Yeti or other mud terrains that I've ran in the past. So yes, the road noise is increased, but it's completely manageable in my opinion. Tread depth. How much have these tires actually worn? Well, let's see. We're going to use a Peruvian Sole for this. Sorry, I don't have a real tread depth counter. All right, right at the cross of the star there. So that is 246 millimeters. So tread depth is commonly measured in 30 seconds of an inch. So that would be, I think that's 30 seconds. It's crazy. I was expecting a lot less. Let's check the other ones. So if I just pinch that right there. Okay, right here. Wow, literally bang on 6 millimeters. So that's 30 seconds. I can't remember what the, I think the original is 30 seconds. I'll put it on the screen. Let's check the other ones. We rotate all of our tires, so we've been putting 5 tires into the rotation. We're gonna check the rest. Okay, there we go. This one's a bit less. This one's maybe 5 and a bit millimeters, so like 10 and a half, 30 seconds-ish. So a bit less. Spare, this one just came off recently. We did our last rotation. Yeah, like between 5 and 6. Okay, last one. This one is like bang on 5 millimeters, so like 30 seconds. So that's the lowest. That's about halfway. I think just about 50% tread. So this one's obviously been on the back the longest. So I'd say overall we're like just over 50% tread for 40,000 kilometers. Obviously you're not going to take them right down to bald, but I mean I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. We have literally abused these tires for 17 months, 17 countries, and 41,000 kilometers. And if you don't believe me, well, you've got about 60 videos to catch up on.
There's not much more I can say. I'm not a tire scientist, but this is about as real world of a use case as it gets. These tires have done their job, and then some. We're not paid by Falken to recommend these tires, but it's easy for us to do so after driving the Pan American Highway with them. Check out our travel series if you're new, and thank you for watching.